Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Overwatch Carbon series brought to you by Carbon Entertainment. I'm Alex Frost Gill, and I am very excited to be your host for the next 5 weeks, where we are going to watch the top teams in North America duke it out in their continual pursuit of greatness. Joining me on the desk for this adventure to call all of the action as it unfolds, I've got two casters who scarcely need introduction. Here they are. It's going to be Andrew ZP Rush and Robert Hexagrams Kirkbride. How are we doing today? Hey.
It's great, man. I'm really glad to be in Denver, despite it being a city without oxygen. I'll try to catch my breath as things go on and we acclimate, but just great Overwatch. Every time I'm doing an event, I don't really care what city I'm in, what stage I'm in, even the event around itself, but Overwatch is going to be happening. We have 5 weeks of it, ZP.
Oh, it's great to be in here in Denver. I mean, this takes me way back. I lived here for a little bit as a kid. It's a great city, and what better place to have great Overwatch action, and I'm certainly excited for the matches to come.
We've got a lot of good action coming up, and we've got some time to get acclimated, so you'll have just enough time to get acclimated and then head back. Well, either way, I mean, we're ready to dive in here, but we do need to go over a few things first. First of all, if you don't know as of yet, the teams that are participating in this event, we've got Immortals, compLexity, Luminosity, Team Liquid, Hammers, and Renegades. So before we get into the actual matches, I did want to go over that briefly. And bear with me because it's a little complex. I believe in you, though, and I believe in myself, and we're going to get through it together. So basically, every series is going to be a best of 5. And so there's a possibility of 5 maps being played. Maps 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And each one is going to be pooled from a small map pool. So for instance, map number 1 will be selected by the home team, which is second on the list if you're looking at the schedule. And that map will be selected from the pool of Hollywood, Kings Row, and Eichenwald. Map number 2 will be selected, actually 2 through the end are selected by the losing team of the previous game. And map number 2 will be Hanamura or Temple of Anubis. And then map number 3 is Oasis, Nepal, Ilios. Map number 4 is going to be Dorado or Gibraltar. And then we'll be going back to Hollywood, Kings Road, and Eichenwald for map number 5 if it reaches there. And then the only other rule with that is if whatever map you chose in map number 1, you can't choose in map number 5. So if that wasn't complicated enough, just bear with us. We'll walk you through everything. Well, let's take a look at our matchup for Game 1. It is going to be Immortals versus compLexity, 2 teams that we are very used to seeing. Let's take a look actually at the Immortals roster to kick us off because I think it's a good place to start. See what the players that we're going to be watching coming up here. And as Immortals coming into this event, very strong. One of the few rosters that has largely remained the same. Right. And we'll wait to see the roster there. But any initial reactions as far as Immortals goes?
Well, I mean, I think you hit the nail on the head. Is they're the roster that's gone through the least amount of change lately, and I think that's one of the reasons why a lot of people would look at the groups or the teams that we have here for this event and say that Immortals is probably your early favorite, if not like your early heavy favorite, because they've been together for so long. And we talked about it a couple times, ZP, where if you were just going to build an Overwatch team with that standard 2-2-2, the Immortals has really followed that model, and they look great.
Well, the key thing about Immortals is that more so than other teams, they have a whole lot of weapons available. They have a true double threat on DPS where you have, of course, players like Grim Reality that had an enormous showing at the NG finals, but then you take a look at players like Agilities where maybe you do take away Grim Reality, but Agilities has proven his ability to pick up the slack when Grim Reality gets focused. And across the board, you have a team where you don't have much in the way of weak links. Right. We can look at other teams of the tournament and go, there's a question mark here. Immortals, over time, has really gotten rid of their weaknesses, and they've proven to be one of the best teams in the NA scene.
They're above average at every single position as well. I think my one big question, it's actually a small question because I've seen him play at post-patch as well, but Hyped being one of the best divas on the planet for a very, very long time. Before she was very strong, even post really strong. Now she's gone through changes again. What will Hyped play on? I have all the faith that he can find something else, but it is a change that they're going to have to adjust to.
And that might be one of the only questions, and there may be smaller questions that we have. But let's actually take a moment and talk about compLexity. See if we can take a look at their roster coming in here. But Yeah, there it is right there. What are your thoughts on this complexity roster? Lots to talk about, I'm sure.
So for complexity, they're sort of the opposite end of the spectrum from Immortals right now when you look at team stability, where they were for a long time one of the more stable rosters in the scene, but Harblu is gone, JKW is gone, he was briefly replaced by Winghaven, but now he is also exited, and they're effectively trying out new players to see who's going to fit. But the problem is in Overwatch, you're talking about a game that is very heavily based around team chemistry, team composition, and when you're dealing with 2 new tanks, in particular, where you have to fill Harblu's off-tank role and you have to see who's going to be main tank, that's going to be difficult for complexity to really adapt to early on. Now, they have been playing with these people for quite a while, and they're trying to make it work, but to go against Immortals for their first match, it's going to be a rough road.
Well, they've always been a team that has had consistency issues. And just to underscore your point as far as like these are new players on the roster, these are very new players on the roster. It's not like these are 2 weeks or 2 weeks old. They just locked them in like today as we were walking into the studio. We found out who's going to be on this roster. So it's going to be very difficult to play with 2 people who are just brand new tanks, and also just losing just the overall talent of Harblu hurts.
Right, and that's where I was going to go, is that you look at Harblu, when most people think of complexity, they think of Harblu. Harblu was the hero of this team. He made many people into complexity fans, and now he's gone to teams unknown. It hasn't been confirmed where he's going to yet. There are some theories, but the point is that this has actually torn away a lot of the identity of complexity because it's their star player. It would be like a team losing a LeBron James or a Michael Jordan. It's not easy to immediately recover from.
Well, we're going to see if they can recover, and it looks like they've made a few changes, as you saw their roster, to do just that. But only time will tell, and this first match is going to be very telling. Well, let's actually take a look. We've selected a few players to watch as we're coming into this match. So keep your eye on these players. First, for Immortals, it was not a very difficult decision, but the player to watch for Immortals is going to be Grim Reality. You can see there on your screen, DPS hard carry, and of course, high noon is another phrase that comes to mind. But no, I mean, McCree, very strong McCree player.
Going way back, I remember watching Grim Reality when he was just getting up in the scene, whether it be just early pub games where he was on McCree more so than anyone else around. He really ground out the game. It's a true Crusher 99 story if there ever was one. And then he started playing in weeklies with a whole variety of different teams, finally settling on Sody Pop. And he's just stayed with this Sody Pop core for a long time and really just elevated his gameplay month after month. And now many people see him as one of the biggest threats in the game, particularly on hit scan characters like McCree. So it's a great story. He's a fun kid, and he's great at making grilled cheese.
Yeah, and again, just to clarify that timeline, I'm sure we'll touch on the grilled cheese all throughout the tournament.
Yeah,
just to clarify in that timeline, he was Crusher 99 before Crusher 99 existed. He was the guy who grinded out the hours. Like, he is the story now. I know you and I have just would love seeing him come up through those ranks like that. And I think it's great lately that teams have gotten more of an identity where we're not just going to play standard meta. Why are we taking Grim off of his best hero and putting him on something just to try to transform into what people think we should be playing? And watching him on McCree is a revelation. I don't know, I try to stay away from superlatives. Probably the best McCree in North America.
Yeah, I try to stay away from those as well. But an argument could be made, and
fair.
very few arguments against that, I think. We'll see what Twitch chat, I guess, has to say about that. I'm sure there are some thoughts. Well, I think we're about ready to go into the map. The first map is going to be Eichenwald. Oh, I'm sorry. Goodness gracious. I skipped completely over. Eichenwald is the first map, but tuck that away. Forget that I even said that. Let's go over the player of the to watch for complexity. And this one was difficult because of the roster changes, Harblu being such an integral part of their identity up to this point. And so what we chose Shake as being the alternative, because he, in a lot of ways, has been the backbone for the team from that Ana support role.
I've always liked Shake on this roster, and I've always thought he's been a very underrated player overall. And now, especially with Harblu's departure, a lot is going to fall onto Shake's back. He's going to have a very difficult task today, especially being in that support role and having 2 new tanks, not knowing where the position is. And what Shake always excels at is doing damage from that support role, whether it be on Ana or the great times that we get to see him on Zen. So not knowing, especially where your tanks are going to be on support, is probably going to hamstring his damage a little bit. How is he going to work with these new tanks on that kind of backbone carry role?
Certainly, and it's easy to sort of overlook Shake, especially with the wide shadow that Harblu used to cast with all of his Roadhog play and the heroics that went into for that. But Shake is definitely one of the more consistent supports that you will get in North America, and that's because not only is he a difficult kill when people dive in on him, he's frequently able to get kills. If I had to compare him to, say, another North American team, I'd say that you compare him to Rolf. They're very similar skill sets and similar threats, but he's definitely a big player to watch on this complexity squad.
And he is definitely going to be someone we're going to be watching as we're going to be loading into Eichenwald shortly. Any final thoughts before we load in on Eichenwald itself? Where do these teams sit as far as Eichenwald goes there?
Well, I think what stands out to me is that we're actually going to Eichenwald to start things out. This was compLexity's map pick, and Immortals really isn't that great at Hollywood. It is a map they have struggled on, and we'll deep dive into that as the tournament goes on, but I feel like it would have been much harder to bring to Hollywood because also, historically, compLexity is very good on Hollywood with their Sombra openings, so they can still run those openings here in Eichenwald, but it does make me wonder why they went to this map.
It is a specific map that they're good at, but overall within this type, they're very good at this map type. Hybrid especially better than their escorts plays as well because they have those set plays. And what I think we will see good play out of compLexity for the first minute or so. My question is, what happens when you can't run a set play again? When you don't have a Sombra opening, you don't have those specific things that you want to run. How are you going to adapt after that? They had a tough draw, right? Their roster is in flux, and they're going against one of the most prepared teams in all of the tournament.
If I was a betting man, I actually wouldn't be surprised to see a Sombra because that has been something that can be consistent, that they can go to. And rather than create something completely new, which is what compLexity is known for in a lot of ways, is innovating different strategies like Sombra, is to stick on something that has been working. And that way they can more easily integrate their new roster picks. Well, we are going to be going into game, into Eichenwald, and welcome if you're just recently joining us to the Overwatch Carbon series. I'm very excited to be bringing you game number 1 on Eichenwald. Take it away, gents.
All right, we are rolling into Eichenwald. We'll get to see just what this new compLexity roster has in store for us. And if we weren't clear on what players are joining them, it's going to be TXAO, I think it's pronounced Zhao.
Yeah.
That's what we decided on for that. And Cao. So Zhao and Cao going to be the new Bash brothers in a sorts for compLexity, replacing JKW and Harblu, or if you want to count the 1 week of Winghaven, that was also in there too. But this is the new compLexity, at least for now.
Well, it's Chao and Ko, I believe. Just to go with the pronunciation, I feel like I'm going to be the one casting the vote on how we pronounce Eichenwald, because you went Eichenwald, ZP went Eichenwald. Both are correct. Now I feel like I'm picking sides here, but I guess I'm just going to go with ZP as always. Sorry, it's too much history to pass up here, right?
We should have just gone with Big German Castle and be done with it, because that is where this takes place, is in fact a big German castle. But it will be compLexity here on the defense first. We'll see just what they come out with here in just a moment. I don't think that's going to be a defensive Hanzo. No, that's going to be Torque coming out here on the Roadhog. But Hex, anything striking out to you as we look at the defense as they roll out?
There's a lot of questions that need to be answered for me for compLexity immediately. Nothing is really jumping out right away because we assumed that Joe Meister was going to be on that. Lucio, of course, Shake is going to be trying to play the Ana. That is an interesting dance to start off the match. I mean, bring in some energy. You're a new player on the roster. You got to have your pregame rituals. That is going to be KO onto the Reinhardt as well. So I mean, the big thing is, how is Shake going to work with his Reinhardt? Because that synergy is really necessary. Now, compLexity is not necessarily a team that asks a lot of their Reinhardt. Of course, JKW played a much more conservative style than Winghaven, so that is the question I want to look at here, but nothing super out of the ordinary. Looks like we might be seeing the verges of a dive comp coming out of the Immortals, though.
It's going to be a dive comp versus a 3-2-1 defense. You can expect Nicholas to be a little bit further in the back, looking to support compLexity with damage from the side, but if you look at the side of Immortals right now as they look to go in, oh my goodness, agilities just get stoned immediately. So we were talking about Shake to begin with, and that's just consistent Ana play to start this out.
Yeah, Shake has always been one who can just find his way into the kill feed, even as those supports taking on agilities early is going to really hurt the dive potential. It buys them an immediate 10 to 20 seconds on the next push.
And as Immortals waits for agilities to come back in, the rest of compLexity right now just holding a little bit further back. They're not contesting the front archway, instead saying to Immortals, come in. And I think they realize that they have that ability to dive. But Nicholas finding the early kill on Grim Reality. Grim Reality was trying to flank around from the side and Tracer. Didn't get too much from it. And Immortals right now giving up 3 kills as they go in. They haven't really committed to a full dive yet, Hex.
Those are great first kills, though, because they're integral parts of the dive. You can't go in if you lose your Genji, and then you lose your Tracer. You have to completely reset again. So just really nice kills early on. I do like to say that I like that hype is sticking on this D.Va. We mentioned earlier players trying too hard to adjust their style to something, and now he's sticking on what he's good at.
Well, this time Immortals is going for a full commit. They are all in on the point. Fortunately, Nomi going to die really early on here. And you look at Torque, does eat a lot of damage, able to back out. Hook is back on cooldown, finds D.Va early on, will get taken out though. So this is where Grim Reality was hoping to stay alive a little bit longer. Doesn't happen. And Nicholas, nothing's on him, so he's going to be able to clean all of this up here, Hex, ending up with 3 kills before it's all said and done.
Yeah, late kill onto the Lucio there is very very nice as well. It just seems like the dive is not all hitting the same spot at once. They've lost integral pieces of this dive composition, of course, all trying to get your mobile characters onto one target early on. So you've lost your Genji early, you lost your Tracer early, you lost your Winston early. They need to find one single target and get on there without losing anyone early on, but a great defense so far from compLexity.
Well, it might be getting a little bit spicier here because Immortals is ready to go. Agility's holding on to that Dragon Blade, going to be the Triumph one to break this open. Here he goes, Dragon Blade up and out the ready, into the building, and oh my goodness, immediately taken out by the nano-boosted soldier as Nicholas, again, being the rock here for compLexity, gets the early kill on the Genji, and this should allow compLexity to hold on here.
It was just seconds a little bit too late because they had Nicholas stuck in the house back there. The Tracer had bullied him in there. The Dragon Blade was supposed to come. The Winston had pushed him in there too, but he responded really well. They all collapsed upon him, but just seconds apart, and that's kind of the coordination you need for a dive comp. Everyone has to be there at once, a good response, and all the alts burned out too. Grim Reality, though, I know, coming back on McCree.
So Immortals is swapped off now, Hex, off of the dive comp. Do you think they should have done this a little bit earlier?
I think, you know, you give it 2 shots, 3 shots, strike out. Now you have to change. But they used the ults that they wanted to use, so I think now is the perfect time to swap, actually.
Well, we have a minute 20 left here on the clock, and compLexity is looking very good right now. They still have the defensive Graviton up and at the ready. Not too much to go with it. A whole lot can combo with it. Doesn't always happen, but this is a good place to be in for compLexity, especially when they need just one more fight.
I mean, the problem is they're switching still pretty late now. Hype just got off of the D, but now he's onto the Zarya. This is going to be the last fight, and they're going to have to do it without any ults, and pushing into tank ultimates not going to be easy for Immortals.
Well, here comes Zhao right now looking for the defensive Graviton, going to be pulling in at least 3. The fall through on the defense, absolutely there. He's charged up 100%. 2 kills to none right now, and Immortals on the verge of potentially getting upset here on Eichenwald because we thought they would have a much easier time getting in.
This is not looking great right now for Immortals at all, and I gotta say, this is kind of the compLexity that we've seen on occasion where one of the TJO brothers will simply go off, and you never know when that's going to be as part of their inconsistency issues, but Nicholas has had himself a game and a half.
All right, Immortals on what will be, without doubt, their final attempt to take point A here. They don't have a whole lot of tools to go with it, but let's see if Grim Reality can find those early pickups here. He has been an X factor for Immortals in the past. Both teams in on the point right now. Immortals fully in. Earthshatter comes down here from the offense. It's gonna be enough. Nomi ends up with 2, and Immortals might have just breaking through here, Hex.
And that's one of the issues with having the new tanks like they did. You don't want to put someone on blast immediately because he played well early, but KO dropped his shield, was looking for a kill, and that's just not having confidence in the team behind you to clean up the kill that he was going for. That shield down, opened them up for that enormous Earthshatter, and that's exactly the ultimate that broke through that point for him.
Now, Hex, we have an interesting swap up here. Usually when you see Sombra, you see it more on first points, but Grim Reality, potentially no, he was just swapping off. I think he was just looking to respawn and get back in there early, so he's going back to McCree. The rest of Immortals going up a little bit early, 2 of them dying as a result, so not too much loss given respawns here, but they are giving more ultimate here, the compLexity, Hex.
Yeah, being very aggressive, kind of fighting over that gate right there, trying to get as much as they can. They're going to hold pretty far forward. This is a trend we've seen in all of Overwatch lately, not falling back too far, fighting as soon as the enemy team pops around a corner.
Well, certainly Selfless yesterday was all in their opponent's faces on defense. compLexity not quite going that deep, but they are holding relatively far as defensive holds go. Next fight here should be underway. Agility's looking for a hook to start this off, and he's just going to open up with the whole hog here, cracking the opposing Reinhardt shield as Immortals looks to move in and get in on this compLexity threat, but compLexity just bending back and not giving Immortals much.
I credit where credit's due again. Torque is now getting some work going on the hog as well. He got an early hook into that, make it a 5v6, and then they burned their whole hog too, so now here are going to come the ults. There's a grab ZP, it's huge.
That is a beautiful grab here from Zhao, going to pull in the entirety of the Immortals squad. A little bit late follow through here with the Reinhardt nano boost. compLexity not getting any kills off this just yet. The timing of it just a bit off, and it allows Immortals to disengage, and here comes Grim Reality on the cleanup. Has 1, looking for more, picks up 2, and that disengage for Immortals and re-engage is going to win them this team fight.
The more chaotic, the more like the Wild West that a fight devolves into, the better McCree gets. And you saw as soon as a couple people went down and everyone had taken damage, that Grim is just there on the cleanup crew, and he's looking to go off. He's got a Deadeye up, hard to hit at the highest levels to get enormous impact, but at the very least could do some zoning potential here.
Hyped could very well set that up. Hyped is going to look to get on compLexity as they rush out here. They're all grouped up. There's the Graviton. Deadeye is in from Grim Reality. How many happy little skulls will we get? It's gonna be 3. and Immortals will be opening up the gate to this castle.
It is so important to just crack that shield. I think way back in the days of when Reunited ran that combination better than anyone, you set up your Deadeye, you make sure that shield gets down however it must be, a sleep dart, a charge, however you break through it and you get those giant Deadeyes, a team effort Deadeye there, not just Grim there. And we have a pause for whatever reason.
So we do have a pause, and we're not quite sure what the issue is yet. It will be sorted out in just a moment. But Hex, let's talk a little bit about what we saw here, where compLexity had a very, very good defense to start this off. Now, we wanted to talk a little bit about maps beforehand. Why is this a case that isn't really that unknown for compLexity?
Well, why they're doing well on this map? Well,
why they're doing good on first defenses in general.
Yeah, they're generally good on just when they have a chance to set up. They're a team that struggles to reestablish themselves when things break down. They don't necessarily thrive in those chaotic environments. Yeah, I think generally we think about them being good on first point offenses moreover than anything because of the specific Sombra plays, the specific setups that they run into there. I think their defense there was mostly just off the back of strong mechanical play off of their Soldier 76, and they would have had that. And, you know, he's new to the team, and I think that was the one thing that was the big mistake. New to the team, chasing a kill on the Reinhardt instead of keeping the shield up. That Earthshatter was what won the fight for Immortals, and that Earthshatter was in position to be blocked. It's just the new integration of KO into this roster.
It was Nomi coming at the last moment, just able to thread the needle to set all of that up. Now, let's talk a little bit more about compLexity's second point defense, because Immortals, once they went back to a composition they're a little bit more familiar on, they weren't quite going full dive anymore. They went to something standard. They were rolling through second very quickly. They kept momentum up, and yes, compLexity did stop them for a little bit at the beginning, but once they lost there, it was all good for Immortals from there on out.
It's going to be dealing with Grim Reality. Who's going to be the person who can deal with him in the back lines? compLexity isn't necessarily known, recently at least, for running a Tracer who can get back there and harass. They kind of are running all those frontline-ish heroes, so you're giving Grim too much space. Someone's got to be able to deal with him. Now, if that's running a Diva, if that's running something else, I'm not entirely sure. What I do know is that if you let Grim Reality alone, you're going to regret it.
So we are going now into the final phase of Eichenwald once the game resumes. And let's talk a little bit about momentum going in the last, because historically this has been a map where if you don't get in on your first or second push, it's actually very difficult to really finish out the map. Now, let's talk a little bit why. I think a lot of that, of course, comes down to you oftentimes see defensive Mei able to block teams out.
Yeah, the small spaces of Eichenwald are really a difficult thing to deal with, and Mei can be a problem here if you're going to run it on defense, and compLexity is a team that has shown that they can run a Mei. The thing about compLexity that, you know, maybe not everyone knows is that they have two good DPS. Very, very Mario DPS. I've used this term for you before. Mario for Mario Kart. They're good at everything, but if I asked you what is their best hero,
right.
Exactly. It's very difficult to say, and that's the right answer. They're all good at everything, so they can run a Mei, but they're not going to blow your socks off with any specific hero.
I would say in recent times you can make a case for Sombra.
Yes.
And their Sombra play that we've been seeing from Torque, where I think he really has made a name for himself as one of the best Sombras in the game. Although that's also a very short list because the sample size, there's not many Sombras that have been running it consistently, especially on the North American side.
Right, but so far, I mean, I am pretty impressed with compLexity playing as well as they have. That first point defense, I'm just overall impressed. But it does go back to what we felt about compLexity forever, that there are times when Nicholas and Torque are on, they can carry this team wherever they're going to go, and it's always been they will go as far as Nicholas and Torque can take them. Now, of course, that burden is heavier now with Harblu gone, because Harblu made things a lot easier on everyone on this team.
I mean, Harblu gone, those are big Roadhoggian shoes to fill if there ever was a case. So, yeah, I mean, this is a case where we do want to see a little bit more contribution from Nicholas, from Torque, and certainly Nicholas filled those shoes early on their defense. Now,
even Torque, I think he's probably not used to having to play Roadhog, but he had a couple nice picks early on. And I think one of the questions that I had as well was, what is Hyped going to play? And Hyped struggled a little bit. He was kind of a non-factor early on Diva and then on Zarya. Of course, he did hit that giant grav later, but he was dying earlier in fights. So it's going to take adjustment time for him too.
All right, so it looks like we are about to unpause and go into game. We'll see just how this Eichenwald map will unfold. Immortals right now with momentum going into third.
Well, they do have ults up. That is Nicholas and KO with ults as we do rotate back into towards last of all. They already have great progress getting through this doorway, already headed towards last as the whole hug's going to open up a lot of space for agilities. Mistimes that hook, though, so Torque's going to stay alive, gets the wall up, but pays his life for it.
Well, with Mei down, this could not be a better situation for Immortals. Nicholas trying to bring it back with the attack visor over the top, but Grim Reality, the immediate assassination over the top, and he's not done yet. He has 3 before it's all said and done. Grim Reality going off here at the end of Eichenwald, and now the question is, how much can compLexity delay. They haven't gotten any kills that would really help them solidify here. They're running onto that point, and nothing can deal with Grim over the top, and that will be a completion for Immortals.
It's one of the fastest second to thirds you can have in Iconball. Generally, once that door opens, but we've talked about it before, that's usually your best push, right? As soon as you get through there, because coming back through that doorway once it shuts, of course, that will likely change in the upcoming patch, but really, really strong to ride that momentum from busting down the gate to finishing out the map.
Certainly, and that's your big window of opportunity, although it is a little bit of a strange ice-involved map if you think about it, because usually teams, if they, on the competitive level, you see them get first relatively quickly at points, and then if they do get stopped, they'll get stopped at last. Well, we had the reverse here, where the first hold was very long, and the last hold was non-existent. But I think that just shows how good Immortals is at maintaining momentum and keeping the foot on the throat, and it's no real surprise, Hex, because a hero like McCree is very good in uneven number situations. If you give Grim Reality a situation where he is going to have a numbers advantage, not going to have much pressure, he's going to fully convert on that more often than not.
He simply asserted his will there, too, because he rotated up to high ground, flashbanged and fanned the opposing team up there and said, this is my high ground now. He got 4 more kills after he kicked down that railing. Just an absolute tavern brawl for McCree to take over.
So let's take a look here at the Immortals defense as it rolls out here, Hex. One thing that they really like running, they don't quite go full double builder like we would see from Renegades, but Verbo likes going Symmetra on first point defenses on these hybrid maps like Eichenwald, like Hollywood.
Well, regardless of the retooling of Symmetra's hero kit, the question and the emphasis has always been exactly the same, is it's really important for you to win the first fight so that you can get a shield generator up or a teleporter up. We've seen them both in about fair amounts of equal amounts lately. I would imagine a teleporter, but it's going to be interesting to see where she sets up. There's a very specific room on Eichenwald that you would like to set up in the back room, bait people in there, and then use it as your car wash room of death.
Well, the key thing to note is that it is a bit of a gamble because you need to have a good early defense to even get that Symmetra ultimate. And you take a look at compLexity right now, they're coming in full dive. Pharaoh's going to be in the skies, Genji's going to be everywhere, and Tracer's going to be flanking around with Winston leaping in over the top. So this is going to either go very, very well for compLexity or very badly. There's not much in between.
Full dive, too. This is dive with Pharaoh, which we've been seeing a lot lately. It's going to matter how they can keep themselves healed up and when they choose to engage. It's great to see Shake on that Zenyatta, too, as he's going to be doing a lot of damage. This is a very heavy damage-oriented comp, not so much on the heals.
And what's surprising me right now, in fact, is compLexity is still taking their time to some extent. They're measuring the defense of Immortals, but once they go in, Hex, they're going to be going in with everything they have.
I think they wanted to make sure there weren't a bunch of Symmetra turrets over that bridge, get caught in that car wash, so they're just kind of pacing themselves in. Like you're right, not full dive, a little hesitant dive, and that should slow things down as KO goes down to agility. It's very hard to go in now with pretty much your only tank already dead.
And that's a case where I think compLexity may have been looking for those turrets, as you just mentioned, but when you're running this composition, you really need to commit earlier. You can't wait that long because eventually someone will get out of position and will die, and for a dive comp to work well, you really need all 6.
You can't play the poke game against a team running a Symmetra. Eventually you're going to lose that, and she's going to get her gear up, so this fight absolutely pivotal for compLexity.
Well, here we go. compLexity is diving in, but they are immediately getting thrown out. 2 quick kills here from Immortals. Dive comps, either everyone dies quickly or you die quickly. And Immortals, they were prepared for it, and they flawlessly throw back compLexity.
It's exactly what you want if you're Verbo right there at 98, 99%. He might even hold this for a while. It can be a risky gambit, but you never know if you're going to need the teleporter or you're going to need the shield gen, so he's going to hold it and probably play a little bit safe. We'll see what he wants to drop down. This is the back room that he was probably going to put it in, but everyone knows where you're going to put your stuff as Symmetra now.
And right now, he's waiting a long time to actually drop this. This is a little bit of a gamble, or maybe just wants to throw it all the way up here, and it's just taking him that long to move up here. I would expect it to be dropped soon, and it's looking like it might be, but oh my goodness! I think he hit Tracer with a long-range orb. That's just where Zhao really wasn't looking for it, probably blinked into it randomly, but that is unfortunate for compLexity. And now, Hex, you take a look at the time. Over half their time for point A is burned off the clock.
I laugh because I can't cry, and I've been that Tracer so many times before. But yeah, Chow going down there is really going to hurt that push in too. Verbo still holding on though, but if they can get a deep dive on a Verbo before he drops anything, all of this advantage will be mitigated.
Well, here's a moment of truth. compLexity has a whole lot of ultimates up right now, and they are going to burn them as they dive in. Nicholas looking for the opportunity to drop Justice from above. They are down Torque already though, so there's the barrage coming in. Will immediately take down Reinhardt. Verbo hasn't dropped his teleporter yet. Gotta think he's going to be dropping it soon. Can't imagine a shield gen in the situation, and Immortals actually withstanding the storm pretty well. compLexity went in with a whole lot of ultimate power. Shake going down, they're going to have to back up for one last Hail Mary push X. This is not good luck. And by the way, Verbo still hasn't even dropped that teleport.
They've got him pushed all the way back, but the telling thing there is we were on Pharah's cam for a while, and I didn't see any of her teammates around her. That means everyone is doing their own thing, a little bit segmented now, not necessarily pushing in on the full force that you need with the dive composition. And look at all those check marks up for Immortals. They're still holding on to everything. 5 check marks of theirs. That's the ultimate indicator, of course, but compLexity building up their ults of their own. We're getting down to about the last attempt here, ZP.
It will almost certainly be the last attempt, and what you're going to need here is for Torque to thread the needle and get to that back line. Nicholas has taken down one early on. Nomi already out. Primal Rage activated. 5v5 between both teams here, but Grim Reality going off. He had everyone in his sights. 4 kills for Grim Reality, and Hex, he has really been the glue that has kept this Immortals roster together. What a play.
And it means absolutely nothing anyway, as everyone was going to be able to come through. Any kills that they got were coming through that teleporter that you saw Torque trying to deal with as he gets eliminated as well. That teleporter still up and available. Desperation time for compLexity as they have to throw everything at it with only 5 seconds left.
This is full Hail Mary level, just hoping for a miracle. Grim Reality, though, the destroyer of miracles, cleaning up the remaining people as they roll in, and compLexity should be thrown off this point in just a moment. And map number 1, Hex, gonna be going the way of Immortals.
I do want to note, though, that that 3-0 is a little, it's not telling of what actually happened.
No.
There was almost a full hold there for compLexity on first, the very last fight, and Earthshatter that changed things up.
It's very true. I mean, compLexity was one fight away from having a full hold versus a full hold, and unfortunately for them, their offense just not quite where they need to be to get through this Immortals defense.
And I believe this is the Earthshatter that changed the entire complexity or complexion of the map right here as he comes around, and yeah, that's the Earthshatter.
Well, it certainly changed compLexity because it made them dead on point A. There is no doubt about that, Hex. And yeah, that was a huge Earthshatter coming in from Nomi, knocking down almost the entirety of the team. And without that play, we're looking at 1-1 right now.
Absolutely.
Yeah, well, thank you for that and a very entertaining game. I want to talk a little bit as I come in here about Nicholas. If you don't mind, because I mean, obviously the play of the game going to Nami, and we're going to talk about Nami versus KO for sure. But one of the questions coming into this match for compLexity was who's going to carry the team. Well, we had somebody carry it. What do you think about Nicholas's performance
It's
here?
not really that surprising. He's always been capable of it. He's got the capability of taking over games, as does Torque. This has been the same compLexity story since the beginning of compLexity. When their DPS are on, they are world beaters. When their DPS are off, anyone can beat them.
Right, and you take a look, there was even disparity between their offense and their defense. Nicholas had a phenomenal defensive game, but then you look at what was going on in offense, he found it very difficult to get things going with the rest of his team, and I think that's where compLexity making the recent roster changes, where they no longer have Harblue, they no longer have JKW, and they have Zhao and KO. Obviously, when you're working on offensive coordination, it's difficult to replace whatever synergy you used to have before. Not that these aren't good players that can't get to that level, but clearly I feel like compLexity's first point offense was a lot weaker than we've usually expected from them.
I think a lot of that too is we talk about compLexity as a team that runs plays. You know, they're kind of, they have the basketball chalkboard and they draw things up and you do this. But that also means they've practiced those plays as a team time and time again. You need to be here. Our Sombra will be here. We're going to roll in here. Now you're replacing parts of that, and it's very difficult to do. I think their defense will continually be stronger because defense isn't necessarily set play. It's reactive. They're coming in. Let's kill them. You can rely on your mechanics. You can rely on your DPS to do that. So it doesn't surprise me that their offense struggled. It doesn't surprise me that Nicholas did well. You never know which compLexity is going to show up.
Yeah, and so we're going to have to see. Maybe he's changed and he's really going to do this every game, but we're going to need to see more to see him. But going back to the synergy and the set plays that compLexity brings and what you need to have coming into a match to utilize those, well, one thing that we saw from Immortals on their offense is they swapped on first point. They tried this dive comp, wasn't really working out the way they wanted to. And honestly, I think that they weren't really pushing the new players out of their comfort zones with that. But then on the other side, when compLexity is on offense, they didn't really react and change things up very well. And I don't know. My question, if I'm being very specific, is: do you bring Sombra? I mean, do you try something like Sombra in that circumstance, something that has worked in the past?
So it is a little bit surprising that we didn't see more of a focus on Sombra coming out from the side of compLexity. But on the same note, we don't always know the full history of these teams in regards to how they've been playing with each other recently. Maybe there was a scrim set that went on where compLexity tried to run Sombra versus Immortals in this situation and got nothing done. And they said, look, this didn't work for whatever reasons back on Friday. We're not going to try it now in this match. Those are factors. But from the outside, it is a little bit surprising that they at least didn't give that a stronger shot.
Sombra's a difficult thing to switch into, though. You kind of want to start with Sombra.
Yeah,
you generally don't switch to a Sombra composition. I think that one of the reasons that Immortals was very likely running the dive comp is it's kind of what the safest bet on Eichenwald immediately, right? Because if there's a Mei there, you almost have to run a dive comp. You're not going to be able to get through just because her ice wall and how the archway work together. So I think they wanted to run dive comp just because it's one of the best things to run on Eichenwald. And then when they realized that it wasn't working, they tried it maybe 1 or 2 times too long, and then they were like, we don't have to run this. There's no Mei. We can just walk through that door, no problem. And that's what they did.
And credit where credit is due there for that switch up. There's plenty of teams in the scene that would be stubborn and say, look, we just need one good fight to do this. Immortals said, look, this isn't working. We're going to go to one of our tried and true setups. And in the end, it worked out for them. So Immortals having multiple plays up their sleeve.
Well, let's look forward now. So we've got game 1 under our belts in this best of 5 series. Map 2 has been selected, and it is going to be Hanamura. What are your thoughts coming into this map? We've gotten the hybrid map out of the way. We're coming through the gauntlet where we're going to have the assault map. And then we're going to have the control point map, Hanamura, come into this game 2.
In theory, assault maps should be pretty good for compLexity because we mentioned that one of their better records on map types are on those hybrid maps where you have to take a point. And what is assault except for taking a point and taking a point? There's not fights between those two things. Moreover, taking the last point is extremely difficult for a multitude of reasons, but you need a clean wipe. And you know who's really good at setting up clean team wipes? That would be Sombra. Yes. I don't know if we will see it, but I think that they have a lot of potential on this map type for sure.
I don't disagree. And then you take a look at compLexity coming in here as well. In general, I think this is a pretty good map for a team that is still figuring things out and adjusting new players because, frankly, within the greater North American scene, teams do not play assault maps as often as they play payload, hybrid, and control. It's not something that's scrimmed as much. So, and you're dealing with a situation where you have to perhaps rely more on mechanical skill. In North America, this is not a bad situation for compLexity to be in for map number 2.
I would agree. I'm also really excited to see that Soldier 76. Nicholas potentially bringing that out once again. If he's feeling on today, there are some places on Hanamura for him to hold that high ground and potentially make it very difficult for Immortals coming in. I'm also really curious to see what Immortals has to pull out here. They tried that dive comp. They went back to, let's just let McCree try to carry us. And then, of course, we had Nami with an amazing Earth Shatter. And I think Immortals may be taking advantage of the newness of KO, but it looks like we are about ready to go into game. I'm going to let you guys take it away here for game 2.
All right, thank you, Gil. And now we're going to be heading into Hanamura. Of course, camera is still on us, but we should be in there in just a... It's like, and go.
There's 2 things that are beautiful. It's both us and the cherry blossoms of Hanamura. So we're going to rotate one seamlessly into the other, I believe, at some point in time.
Well, at some point, but since we have a little bit of time here while we're waiting to get fully into Hanamura, one thing I think is going to be interesting is that it's generally a very good McCree map on point B. I think back even the historic moments like E-League where we saw IDDQD completely shut down Seagull just over and over again McCree because it was so hard to get in on him. Now you have a McCree in Grim Reality that maybe compLexity takes point A quickly, but Grim Reality is going to be able to get into the back line, and it's going to be really hard to actually deal with him. So we'll see if that is how Immortals plays point B here, if and when we come to it.
IDDQD shut down Seagull. I feel like that story's taken a twist lately. I don't know if I've read something about those two, perhaps, joining forces.
Let's put it this way. Seagull will never have to worry about running into an angry IDDQD on Hanamura ever again, except if their team comms break down. But hey, that's another thing entirely. We're getting into Hanamura, though, and Hex, what are we seeing here on this defense coming out here from compLexity?
Well, you're just going to take over a look at the map real quick here and see where they want to set up. I think the defense looks like to be pretty standard thus far, except Joe Meister is going to be off that Lucio and is going to play a Torb instead right now. And it's always a little difficult to see if that's going to stick, but as the clock is winding down, that puts a lot of pressure on Shake. We said backbone of the team, and his spine is going to have to be sturdy to solo heal this.
And just that point, that means if Immortals is able to pick off Shake early on, besides the fact that he's a very important part of compLexity, he's also the only only healer they have available here. So Shake is the Achilles heel for compLexity's defense here if he goes down.
Beautiful blind grenade over the top, though, to start it out, though, and that's going to give Shake a nice little charge and put a little dent into Immortals. That's how practiced Shake is on his blind grenades here. So Nicholas hanging out with the turret, the double hit scan up there, hit scan and a half holding the bridge ZP.
And this is a very safe position for Nicholas to be in, even when you're running something that's more dive heavy with Winston, Genji, and Widow. It's still kind of a pain to go up here, and he has the turret backing him up, so this is not an easy area to approach here for Immortals. But the turret will go down to agility. He's just taking out from long range, and Winston's getting in there anyways. Nicholas saw it coming my way, has his escape planned out, and is going to get supported by his Roadhog, who's going in there, taking control of the situation, takes down Winston, and that's really nice coordination on compLexity to support Nicholas there.
Yeah, it could have gone all the way bad. Hyped actually for a moment was on the Widow, but you wouldn't have known it. He died right away, and he's going to switch over to the Zarya instead. So the questions about Hyped remain. Doesn't seem comfortable just completely loading up this Zarya, although he is a very excellent Widow player, so not the biggest surprise to give it a shot at it. But still, some of the questions we had about Hyped are proving themselves.
It's always worth a shot. And heck, let me just tell you, isn't it always scary when you go in and think you're just going to have a nice fight with 76 and then Roadhog walks through that door?
Yeah, it's a little different silhouette than you're used to expecting. 76 you think he can take in a fight, and then Roadhog, his big friend, comes around the corner after just parking his motorcycle.
Outbaited, outsmarted. But we are going into this next fight here as Immortals. Not switching up, again, staying on the dive comp. We'll see how long they stay on it. Hyped, of course, on the Zarya in this case, not a diva. And Immortals once now moving in, looking for an early kill to take this out. And compLexity being pretty passive on the defense here. They're letting Immortals set up, and now they are counter-engaging, looking for that all-important first kill. And it's Torque right now, not able to get too much done on the Roadhog. Both teams giving a lot of respect to each other right now, actually.
Actually,
but there's the hook.
I really, really like where compLexity's setting up on this. If you're expecting a dive composition, if you set up at the door, they're going to jump up over top of you and create chaos on your back lines. A Molten Core did go down with a turret aspect to it as well. Hyped getting very low. Hyped eventually taken out by the angry Swedish man, but a huge boop will drop both Joe Meister and Nicholas off the cliff.
Verbo dropping the beat and dropping everyone's favorite Swedish constructor off that cliff. compLexity, for now, still has a presence on the point, but it is a long, long run back, and this means that Immortals should have a great opportunity to finish this out by Diva in that situation. So I think if you're compLexity here, actually just back out and make sure your point B defense is solid.
Absolutely. You do not want to die out here, but Nomi didn't, or their tank actually did not get that memo. KO is trying to stay alive, gets jumped on, and maybe just die a little earlier there, but that Lucio boop was the defining moment of that fight. Here we come. Brawl's already started.
And Hype right now holding on to that Graviton, able to set things up. You see Nicholas on the rafters, will get nano boosted. This is a shooting gallery, but the sound barrier is down for Immortals, and they have a much better position here on the point. Now, Lucio is down early on. The defense just needs to grind away, but here comes the Graviton, and here comes the Blade. Agility's mopping up with the aid of Hyped. And now, this is a little bit difficult here for the defense. They do have the ability to come in and stall, but the offense still carrying a lot of momentum right now.
The offense did the first part of how do you take a control last. You have to kill everything first and then continue to kill everyone coming out. But that's good for Nicholas. Nicholas gets a kill. You see blue on the left side of that kill feed, things are going to start changing.
Well, Nicholas didn't stop there. He ends up getting the double kill before it's all said and done, and he is still up and around. And even though Grim Reality is trying to keep the offense in here, the respawn advantage from the defense is starting to flood onto this point. So despite a very promising attempt here, X, Immortals might have to back off and be content with merely one tick.
Yeah, assault maps, you must have an aggravated assault to take these last points because, like I said, you have to get a full, clean kill and then kill them again. You have to decisively take these last maps just based on the nature of Defender's advantage. The Defenders are going to spawn, and you need to clean kill twice in a row. You start seeing Defenders get kills there, and it's going bad for the offense.
All right, so compLexity going to be able to fully reset here. And now this is the rough part of assault maps. It's how do you take point B? You really have to go in, Hex, and get that flawless victory, and they're just going right in. In fact, that is a Winston without a whole lot of friends right now. He's going to use Primal Rage to delay, and while he's doing this, it's creating a distraction for the rest of Immortals to come in on the high ground. We'll see if it's effective, but it does mean that Winston had to burn a very valuable resource early on in this fight. Primal Rage is down, and here comes Agility's Dragon Blade out, but he gets hooked right in. Torque on the turnabout. The defense, Hex, looking pretty good here.
Well, Agility and Grim both down, so they're going to be starved for defense here. That late Transcend might be a bit bit of a mistake in retrospect, but it's all easy from my position here, not down on the battlefield. Ethan makes the best out of it, gets 2 kills as he comes out of the Transcend, but simply not going to be enough. Hyped is begging for someone to kill him, and he finally gets his wish.
So, Hex, what did you think of that opening strategy there where the Winston was basically the decoy saying, hey guys, shoot me, while the rest of Immortals went in from the opposite side?
I like it. In theory, I actually really like it. He got the bubble early on. They're just trying to get time and eyes there while everyone else comes in, but it took them too long to get any kills off of it. He was primal raged for a good 5-6 seconds, and still nothing was happening. Eventually, you want to see kills happening while that's there. They didn't get a kill until primal rage had already worn off.
All right, well, next fight is underway, and Nicholas looking to put them in the freezer right now. Right now, he's just going to freeze them out with the ice wall up, but getting in when Ambea's Blizzard is difficult. He's just going to drop that Blizzard right here, and unfortunately, Nomi not able to escape the cold early on, or he does get out in the end. It looks like he's about to fall, finds a way out. KO potentially overextending, so a 5v5 situation, Immortals might have done the best of this here as they've weathered the cold.
Hype continues to struggle a little bit as he is the first down for this Immortals team. There's a sound barrier is going to keep the defense alive. They need to get some kills off of as they do. That is both tanks now down for Immortals as they come in. DPS both up, and we've seen they're both able to carry. Agility's in a rough spot, though, as Nicholas saves his own life in the ice block.
And this fight starting to break down here, but the defense with an enormous advantage. Respawns are coming in. The people who have died early in the fight are already back in. Grimreality's going to be looking for heroics here, but there's only so much a Tracer can do. Now, I wouldn't necessarily say that the Sinatra, given what we saw the other day, but this is still very hard as it's basically Grim versus World right now. It does have respawns coming in, but at some point, Hex, I feel like Immortals just needs to back out here because they don't really have a huge chance of winning this, and they're burning a whole lot of valuable time.
It's been over for about 20 seconds, and they just did not realize it at that point. So Nomi dying very late there is not ideal. They're going to try to set up here. They don't have a ton to work with. The biggest problem I have is that with Hype dying so early, he's only at 65%. We saw Grav a couple fights ago, but you really want to be getting Grav up. The best of the best Zaryas are getting Grav up nearly every fight.
And it's difficult to do that consistently, which really is a testament to Zarya's that are having a game like that. But for Immortals right now, they don't have a whole lot to work with on this next fight. Now, they did take D.Va Avramac. In fact, they took out D.Va, period. So a early 65 opportunity. Nicholas, though, going to split the team with the ice wall. We'll see how much it does. Agilities is the one who pays the price. The rest of Immortals still coming in, but from reality going down, Hex, this has gone from bad to worse. They blow the nano boost, but I don't really think Nomi is in a great position right now to win this fight.
The best thing KO could have done there is die before he got an itchy trigger figure and laid down in Earthshatter, but they are going to use a Blizzard. Looks like Denver and Knight on the point down there right now, as there is a nap on the point. They're going to clean this up yet again. ZP, 40 seconds left. What do they have to do here?
What they have to do as they come back in is that Hype needs to get the graviton of his life, but he also needs complexity to be positioned in such a way that he can get that good graviton. Last point, Hanamura, not always the easiest area to land those big, impactful Zarya ultimates, but if they do, Grim Reality is going to be right there with the follow-through.
One of the best ways to wipe an entire team is get that Grav, get that Pulse Bomb follow-up too. No support ults to negate that either, so there is the potential this could absolutely work. KO still holding onto that Earthshatter, though, waiting for them to come in. Walled off in half, though.
Well, there's the wall, and there's the graviton. Grim Reality, where are you? Do you have a special delivery? He does take down Shake and weakens it enough for Agilities to fall through. Immortals on what will be their final attempt here on Hanamura. Still alive, still in it. Grim Reality, full health, darting around the back, trying to be the hero here once more. Hyped, still good on Zarya. Not really charged up, but still manages to get the Reinhardt kill. Immortals, they have 2 ticks here, Hex. They only need a little bit more.
There's a nice stall on the point. KO died holding his Earthshatter, needs to get out here. That is going to be a pivotal ultimate to use as the offense continues to get kill after kill. All blood red in that kill feed right now. Where is KO with that Earthshatter? Here it comes. He knocks down one. Is it going to be enough?
We'll have to see. Hyped does not fall because of that Earthshatter, gets right back up, and now Grim Reality able to take down Shake again. They have been neutralizing Shake in this fight here, Hex, and that's why they've been able to poke down complexity as they go in on this. Immortals still applying the pressure. The defense getting back in. They only need a tiny, tiny sliver, and yet the delay of complexity is still so strong as Torque finds 2 kills.
Torque bringing it back for his team as it is a Tracer battle on the point. Grim doing his best, does take down the D.Va, but an early Pulse Bomb missed, meaning that he wasn't able to take that down. Whew. What a fight, ZP.
That was a valiant effort coming in at the end by Immortals, and I want to note why that went so well early on, even though that was not the characteristic, gigantic Big Bang play. You know who died in there? Shake. And Shake is a big part of what keeps compLexity together, keeps them healed up. If you can take out an Ana player of that caliber, suddenly everyone else on your offense is going to find it much easier to come in and get the pickoffs you're looking for and potentially secure the point. And they were very close.
To continue our analogy of earlier about Shake being the backbone, I'm no doctor, and I never took an anatomy class. But I feel that if you could destroy something's backbone, they're going to have a hard time holding up.
That would mostly be true. I mean, again, I'm no doctor. I mean, I don't even have good doctor recommendations. I kind of see this guy called Dr. Nick, says he's legit, but...
Hello. Hello, everybody. I'm not even going to try.
No, don't
that
even
was
try.
terrible.
It is actually
a
horrible.
bad idea.
At least you caught it in the moment. But we're going to be swapping sides here on Hanamura, and we'll see just what the compLexity offense has in store. But Hex, this almost feels like I'm not going to say a no-lose situation because they could get held at first, but you have to feel good about your odds where if you take first, the worst that can happen is a draw.
A lot of assault maps we see go to 2, and then we see 3-3 draws, things like that. So definitely a last point hold, not necessarily unexpected because last is easier to hold on most assault maps as the defense. So, but still have to be happy knowing that if you only get first point, the worst case scenario then is you're going to draw. To bring up our phrase, you get first point, you're playing with house money.
Exactly. And now take a look at the compLexity offense here. Now they aren't settled into it here just yet, Hex, but it doesn't appear like we will be seeing a Sombra in this case. Moreover, you look at the Immortals defense, they're running Symmetra, so how important is it for compLexity for this first early dive to be successful?
Well, I'm not sure that it's going to be a first early dive. Nicholas is on that Widowmaker. He is their Widow specialist on this team, too, so an early pick could be great. I love including Widow into this dive comp, actually, so that the early dive makes distractions, and then Widow can just pick up anyone who's not paying attention.
It's hard to focus on the Widowmaker when you have a Tracer in your face, but Tracer immediately going down. I think he got hit by a long-range Helix rocket with a little bit follow-through, and with 2 quick kills, early dive is not happening here from compLexity. They're going to have to back out and regroup.
That's pretty tough. Verbo's actually got some pretty sneaky sentries in big pack room, too, which is one of the nicer places to put them as people will retreat to go get that pack and then get burned down by those sentries. So a lot of this will rely on Verbo, too, as well, to see if he can get his charge up in time. But the dive is in effect on the left side a little bit. They've got a couple sneaky people in the back line.
And right now, they're creating a distraction, which should let the rest of compLexity get in here. But it's on a razor's edge, Hex. They need to get that all-important first pickoff. And Zhao going to go down immediately. Torque following him. A 6v4 situation here. And compLexity probably going to have to back it up. And the only good thing from them here, Hex, is that Verbo, at least, is still not close to having that teleporter up yet.
Yeah, only about 56% after 2 fights. So you know, extrapolating that, you might have one more push where he won't have it up, but after that, you're going to be in trouble and you're going to be on tele-hunting duty. Of course, they do have the people to hunt it, but also Nicholas been very quiet. You know, everyone's been very quiet. Almost no kills for this compLexity on this offense. I feel like it might be a lack of coordination that they're going in just a split second too late, and with a new roster, that's not surprising.
Their offense has definitely looked a little bit discombobulated, but here's Nicholas looking to make his own way, not able to land the headshot to open that up. Still 6 players up for Immortals is hyped, and Nomi going in. 3 unanswered kills here from the side of Immortals, and guess what, Hex? It goes from bad to worse because Verbo will have his ultimate up for the next fight, and we'll see if he drops now or just waits, but either way, it's not a good situation for compLexity.
The smallest of silver linings is that Immortals did burn a couple ultimates there. Not a great deal, though, as they're going to have a couple more tank ultimates up. They also lost Chow again late. It has been nothing very good for compLexity on their offense. At this point, with time winding down a little bit, do you just initiate with a Transcendence? Wall hacks are up. Maybe they can get a pick.
You have to go for something here. There's a minute 45 left. Maybe you don't throw everything against the wall, but Zhao is already gone. He has been gambling hard on Tracer and getting shut down every time with his deep dives. Immortals defense basically airtight.
He's been trying to dive Aethan every time, and he's lost every single time. He's gotten out-dueled by Ana, which is no shame in a Tracer. Ana's impossible to kill, but he has tried several times to get on that Ana, and Aethan has been taking a self-defense course, apparently. He's shut it down completely.
Well, not every Tracer can be Sinatra soon, but for compLexity now, a minute 15 left. They have to be careful about how they handle this, but with an early pickup from Nomi, Dragon Blade is up. He does it with no HP, finds Grim Reality, high risk, high reward, finds Iphon, and that is Torque potentially giving compLexity a big opportunity here. The rest of them going to go on the point. Immortals can still fight this back. Graviton up for hyped, looking for his opportunity. Still with Nomi. People coming back in off the teleporter, and the reinforcement techs will come in off that teleporter and secure the situation.
Those were really cool 3 kills off the Dragon Blade. I would have traded 2 of those kills to find the teleporter and kill it because they mean absolutely nothing with the reinforcements that came through. Verber had already dropped it. Defense in a great position with nearly every ultimate up. The economy has looked absolutely phenomenal for Immortals in this game. They've only used exactly what they had to. Teleporter still has some charges as well. You've got ults all across the board.
Well, fans of compLexity, this is their final fight. Sound barrier is up, but they're going to be rolling right into Grim Reality. He has them in their sights. Hyped and Agility's on the front line already. 2 members of compLexity down is 3-0 for Immortals in this fight. And now with 10 seconds left, this is all over but the crying, Max.
It does appear so, and there have been a lot of tears as these Ana grenades have shut down every diver time and again. The teleporter came through, and that is a full hold, it appears, for Immortals. They will take Hanamura.
And what a disappointment here for compLexity, where they did have that gutsy hold on point B. It was great. It gave them a phenomenal opportunity to come in here and at least come out with a draw on Hanamura. And instead, they're walking away with an L because of an even better hold from the side of Immortals.
It speaks to the point we made last map, though, that their defense will probably be fine. Defense is reactive, and people can come in and you can make calls like that. Their offense is what is going to struggle as they don't have the coordination to make these compositions work.
Now, let me ask you this here. I do like seeing Widowmaker. I think Widowmaker can be highly explosive and really bring things to bear. Would you have stayed on the Widow as long as compLexity did, or would you have looked for a bigger switch?
It looked like it was about to work a couple times, so I get it. They almost got Ethan a couple times, and Ethan was just the unkillable man there. They tried everything to take that Ana down in the back line as they couldn't. I don't know, it's difficult for me to say that every time it would have made sense for her to switch, she had infrared sight up, and you don't really want to give that up because it can help with the offensive coordination as well to know where people are, especially in a dive comp. When you have infrared sight up, you say, they're in the back corner, let's send someone there, and I just think that the window to switch was never there.
Fair.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about windows, though, and no matter what, if it's not working, it's not working. There were definitely opportunities for it. That was the question I had. Literally, was the first question is this Widow, and honestly, these comps that they're putting together, it just seems to me like they're really reaching for something. They're trying to find cheap entry into getting a positive team fight. Get a couple of picks and get in there. But the thing I want to talk about is the new guys. And let's talk about Chow a little bit, because it seemed like he was getting picked off a lot there.
Well, I'm glad you brought up Zhao, because that was going to be my next point as sort of a defensive Widow, is that part of the reason why you run a Widowmaker there is that you have a Tracer that can get into the back line, draw attention. Now everyone's not looking at you as a Widowmaker, and you can get more opportunities for pickoffs. Well, unfortunately, Zhao was going in very deep and dying very quickly. He wasn't able to really be the distraction that may have let Nicholas get some better pickoffs, get better opportunities. So Zhao really was not feeling comfortable on Tracer, that was clear, and was not very effective in the end on Hanamura offense.
One of the misconceptions, I think, of dive comp, and when you see the composition people have out, is that you've got these great duelers. You've got Genji and you've got Tracer, and you're just like, just let them run wild. But I think there was a little too much freelancing going on there. A little, I'm going to try to get in here and I'm going to see what happens. Even with the big Dragon Blade, it was some nice kills, but where's everyone else to deal with it? You need to, it has to be 3 heroes playing as one. This is our target. Let us dive in. It's something I've, dubbed like the Velociraptor strategy. The person you're looking at in front, then here comes a Genji, here comes a Tracer, and that's how you run the dive comp successfully.
The clever girl.
Yeah. We're all looking for it at the same time. But I would go here a step further and say, do you have chaos or do you have organized chaos? Are you in control of it where you really do know what you're doing, everyone knows who's on who, and you can dive in and take advantage of a defense in disarray? Or is it just chaos where everyone is, to use your term, freelancing and just looking for a kill? And definitely for that compLexity offense, it definitely felt more like just straight up garden variety chaos and not the type that takes point A.
It seems like maybe that's what they brought. They're not feeling confident in any set plays because of how their roster has been changing as we're walking into the studio, as you had mentioned, as far as what we know. But so maybe that's what they're looking for, is they're like, listen, we've got to bank on our individual players picking things up for the team, and it just didn't work out there. They did have a very good defense. Let's talk a little bit about Oasis, because there's plenty more topics as far as that goes. But Oasis, this is the first time that we've really seen it in recent history. here in NA.
I think it's a super smart pick, to be honest, because I think control overall will help complexity because you have new players and it is a little more, you can let people just run a little wild, do a little more. It's a little less coordinated on situations, but also I think people have not probably played Oasis a lot. So any sort of knowledge gained by team composition, like this is what we run in Oasis, will be completely mitigated and complexity should have a stand chance. And, you know, trampolines, I'm for it.
Right, and the most play we've seen of Oasis thus far has come out of Apex, where that has been a standard map in the map rotation. We just haven't had the tournaments in NA to really see what NA teams have done on this map here thus far. And truth be told, I mean, I'm sure teams have been doing some degree of scrimming on Oasis, but their overall knowledge on the map is certainly going to be less than, say, it would be on a map like Lijiang, like Nepal. Maps have been played since the beginning. So I'm definitely curious to see what we see out both these teams here, because there are more nuances to Oasis than some of the other maps. I mean, trampolines, as Hex mentioned a moment ago.
Trampolines and bastions, maybe. Are we going to see the trampoline bastion today?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Not today.
Not yet. No.
Not today.
Wait for
We'll
PTR.
see. Maybe
It'll be live.
there might be a patch coming up here soon, so only time will tell whether or not we can expect to see that anytime soon. Well, it looks like we are ready to go into the game. So without further ado, game number 3 on Oasis. Have fun.
All right, so we're going to be moving into Oasis here. compLexity versus Immortals. Immortals looking to finish us off with a firm 3-0 result. compLexity looking for that reverse sweep. Now, Hex, as we look in here on this first stage in Oasis, is there anything particular that you could expect differently from your average control point map, or do you think that both teams will keep this relatively standard?
Well, I mean, it kind of depends on the stages that we roll into, of course. I think one of the great things about Oasis is that there's a lot of verticality. Of course, when you design a map around, I believe they're technically called jump pads. I don't want to start making everyone call them trampolines right away. That you're going to have a design verticality, which means that Pharah is going to be very good. In fact, the lower levels I feel can be underutilized. One of the great things I've seen recently from some tracers is a trick where you retreat down to get away from people into the lower ground, rewind back up. So it's another escape path that people aren't necessarily looking forward to. But I do think that we will see a great deal of Pharahs on Oasis.
Well, as you mentioned, Pharah, we are now looking directly at agilities on Immortals, and he is showing Pharah right now, so that very well could be the case as we move in. Of course, so is compLexity, so we haven't seen this a lot in tournaments like Apex as well, where teams have been very willing to experiment, definitely moving more Pharah into the mix, and really just different team comps in general, because I'm going to note, where is the Reinhardt right now from either team? It's not there.
But just to underscore the point, why this is such a good Pharah map, you can tell because neither of these teams necessarily known for running Pharah, and both are going to run their combo right off the bat.
All right, so both teams getting into it early on here. Pharah v. Pharah action. This brings me back, and Agilities gets brought right down. That is going to be Nicholas with the first blood in the Pharah battle, but the rest of his team not faring as well as Grim Reality darting around, doing the damage into the backline. So Nicholas, he's won the Sky War, but he's lost the Land War.
In these kind of compositions, too, I think D.Va can shine again, and you see hyped back on D.Va. D.Va is a great way to shut down a Pharah and a combo, completely mitigating all those rockets, all the damage, and just denying anything that she wants to do. And we're even seeing the jump pad into it. I'm digging it.
Do like the jump pad. Grim Reality actually just having a little bit of fun right now. Just up and down. I mean, it does look like it's a pretty entertaining exercise. But look at that. He's found his way right into Lucio. Lucio, not expecting this flank path, is doing a good job of at least keeping Grim back right now as Joe Meister looking for his life. But while this is going on, Torque is getting onto the Immortals backline. So Grim has been a bit on a wild goose chase. But there's the stick. Long range. Connects in the KO. But the rest of his team definitely not faring as well.
I mean, I'll give him style points, but really very little impact from him right there, unable to take down the Lucio. It's a pretty known jump to use the trampoline and get back there with a triple blink to get to the back lines, unable to finish that Lucio. Didn't even throw the pulse bomb to Lucio, which I thought would have been a little better. A nice shot, though, a Kobe, if you will, but very little impact from the Tracer play there.
All compLexity going to be looking to hold onto their advantage right now. We have Nicholas on the flank, looking to drop Justice on as many people as possible. Not quite finding the targets he likes here just yet, but is relatively firmly in the air, is getting power boosted by Shake as this goes on. And Torque, able to get to the backline, pulse bombed out Ana very early into this fight. This means that compLexity will be able to out-sustain as they look to mop up the remaining members of Immortals as Verbo just takes 2 to the face.
Well, there's no doubt about it that Nicholas is having the better Pharah game for sure. He's gotten the better of agilities every single time. This damage boost is absolutely brutal as he adds another notch onto his belt and takes down the Tracer on the other team. So he's been something to behold, and they need to find an answer for it. And you know what? Grim Reality plays a hero that I think is a pretty good answer to Pharah.
Space Cowboys are pretty good at taking down air rocket queens, or so the story goes. So, and as we say that, there it is. Grim Reality has had enough with his time wizardry now on that Space Cowboy. And we'll see if Nicholas is still flying the friendly skies as it goes forward. But a lot of good ultimates on the side of complexity going into this next fight here, Hex.
Yeah, Grim Reality on the Tracer just not doing enough. And I think that the McCree is a great pick here, but it is coming a little bit too late. They're going to put a little bit of pressure on the point, but camera on Nicholas still, as he's just been a terror they have to deal with. Agilities does finally get a barrage kill onto Joe Meister, gives his life for it, though, as Nicholas remains to be the most viable threat in the sky.
And Nicholas hasn't really been deep diving. He's been minding his time, but oh my goodness, the Diva self-destruct. That is going to open this up for Immortals, give them the oomph they need, and they will retake. But a very good situation to be in, Hex, if you're complexity. They only need to win one team fight to secure this round.
Need to win one more fight. They've got their barrage up. They've got resurrection up too. It's important to note that I think in situations like this, we've seen in North America and other matches that if you lose your Pharah, you're going to see almost an instant res right away. That's the kind of what the composition is built around. If Nicholas does go down, expect Shake to res him immediately.
Well, let's take a look at Grim Reality right now on his favorite boost pad, going in on Nicholas, and Nicholas definitely not flying the friendly skies there, immediately taken down. And this is what Grim Reality is good at, being very accurate and finding good moments to go in. He is under pressure, and oh, he is off the edge. Goodbye and good night. No anti-gravity for him, but still a very even fight as both teams still very much in it. Tanks going to decide this here as Hyped and Nomi go back in, and Primal Rage is out, and this is going to be a lot of progress here for Immortals, even if they lose the fight here, Hex.
Yeah, it's going to be very difficult for them to take this point back when you have Nomi at 900 HP. Nicholas now back in the fight, takes down Verbo very early, though, and they still have that resurrection. It might come out here if they need it, but so far, Nicholas still on the ground all alone. They do retake, though, so it's on Immortals to take it back.
And now for Immortals, they just have to get on the point. They do have time to get on the point and stall this out, but any deaths they have will be horrible. Agilities was able to get him Torque early on. That's good. He's going to get res immediately, and it's Shake giving his life for that. And oh my goodness, not again! Grim Reality getting well acquainted with the asphalt there. Oh my goodness. Booped right off. And now we'll see if this is enough for complexity to hold.
It's so close. The point is just a tick away, the smallest of hairs, as they do clean up a couple kills. That is their DPS running wild as Ethan chimes in, takes down Torque as well. They will flip it back over, and now it is looking rather difficult for complexity if they're even going to be able to get back on. They're going to push pretty far forward to prevent it.
They're going to push forward. We should be seeing a zoning Deadeye here from Immortals in just a moment, just to make it even harder. Nano Boost is out from Ethan. And here we go. We do have Winston on the point. That will at least give complexity a glimmer of hope. A sliver of hope. I wanted to say sliver and then glimmer, and I've just mixed them into one whole word. But the important thing here is that Immortals will hold on to this point. And that was very close back and forth, and arguably complexity should have had that.
I always get confused when I see a sleeping monkey, too. Not used to seeing it in my everyday life. You see a sleeping monkey, all your vocabulary goes all awry. But that looked like Complexity's game very early on. But I think the turning point, correct me if I'm wrong, Grim going on to McCree?
It certainly was. Nicholas was the MVP for Complexity for most of that round. And then suddenly, Grim Reality, who really wished he could fly with those two knockoff kills, still was a big enough impact to really negate Nicholas's impact here. So we're taking a look at the opening here for Immortals. He's no longer on the McCree. Nicholas still showing Pharah. We'll see how long he stays on this Roadhog here. I think he might just immediately swap to McCree upon realizing Pharah's there if Immortals does get stopped on this first point.
Yeah, Agilities is always going to lose this air battle should they choose to take it, because Nicholas has his pocket healer, and he's going to have Mercy in his pocket the entire time. I don't mind the pick, actually, to Roadhog, because I think rather than focusing the Pharah here, if you can just take the trailing Shake out of the air with a hook, then you're going to be in a great position to win the fight.
So right now, the Roadhog on Immortals is giving them a little bit more space. Complexity does not want to immediately roll right into it, get hooked, lose a person. But both teams are jockeying for position early on here, as Grim Reality is going to be coming on the flank looking for that early hook. Meanwhile, Nicholas still in the skies, laying in the rockets, looking for this Pharah v. Pharah fight, going in on Agilities. Agilities will be backing back out. That's going to stop right there. But for now, Complexity, well, they were doing well, but Grim Reality, he's going to ground Nicholas right here, right now. And it's very close, but Immortals certainly looking pretty intimidating.
I think one of the reasons they're running this hog is because they've seen how Complexity is running this combo. It's been very aggressive, not necessarily staying back. They've been running in range the entire time, and a hook is a guaranteed kill, whereas it's a little less consistent to run a McCree perhaps against this.
All right, Immortals, they will be the victors of this first skirmish here on the second point. And the Roadhog for now working out. I think part of it too is that Pharahs are in the air, but they can't get quite the airtime that they did on the previous stage here, Hex.
Yeah.
So I think that is probably part of Grimm's method in his madness here for not immediately going McCree, even though the Pharah is in play.
Absolutely. It also helps out against the Tracer that they were running anyway. They've gone off of that too. So now it is going to be a more standard composition from compLexity. They're off the Mercy now into the Ana of their own as Grimm busts the whole Hog.
He busts the whole Hog, has the nano boost on him. He is a one-man wrecking apocalypse, so to speak. And with those 2 kills, Immortals will secure themselves this fight and that much more progress here on the point.
Had to burn a couple there, though. Immortals still, the economy has been really, really impressive over the last couple of maps, only using exactly what they need. They saved Earthshatter, they saved Barrage, and compLexity has nothing in their war chest.
And for compLexity, that's pretty rough here because say they go into this X5 with Immortals and lose because of ult disadvantage, that's really going to leave them one big fight. And oh my goodness, the Earthshatter from the flank from Nomi absolutely sets them up, and the rest of Immortals is there to get the follow through. And Hex, how bad is this for compLexity right now?
Well, they didn't get their ults until they were already dead, but I think that it is really smart by Immortals playing more aggressive than maybe is in their nature to take that fight to him before they could even come back to him. There is going to be a grab, is going to be a barrage, and now we've got a very sneaky Hog trying to climb up some stairs.
He's just looking for support right now, and he might have had the opportunity to get one. This is sneaky. He's hunting wabbits right now, Hex, and will he get it? I mean, Elmer Fudd wasn't very successful, but Grim Reality will be. Or will he? No! He fails to get the Ana, and she sleeps him. Grim Reality, not like this, and now with Grim out of the fight, here comes compLexity diving into Immortals, but Immortals counter-engaging right now with Hyped and Agilities, and they still might be able to pull this back despite Grim's faux pas.
I mean, Shake is just on a different level sometimes. Shake lives against everyone. The Ana play in this game is at some of the highest levels, because let's not forget how good Ethan has been as well. They're getting a couple kills on the side of compLexity as they clean up the rest of this point. They do have control, so they're trying to get it back there, but now here comes a boost onto one of our heroes down there. There's a boosted whole Hog from Torque. He gets hooked, but he should be able to take out his counterpart.
Well, he does find Grim early on. The nano boost is over, but he's still at good HP. Diving in right now on Nomi. It is Reinhardt on Roadhog action. And Torque for now will be surviving, but Hyped is there to support Nomi. Nomi's still alive, still using the shield to stay in here. And while that's going on, Nicholas, Justice Ring from above, does find Ethan. That will hurt the Immortals' healing pressure as Nicholas is finally getting to work.
Torque somehow stayed alive between those 2 tanks as the rest of his team was able to come in and clean up. We're nearing about 50% on the side of compLexity, and really compLexity needs anything to get going for him. It's been a difficult couple of maps so far, and right now kind of working their way back. They will have a barrage from Nicholas as well. Torque also working his way to ults for the first time in this set. They've grabbed the ultimate advantage.
And Immortals right now, bear in mind that if they are able to win this fight, they're going to take the round outright, so compLexity must be perfect. We do have the Earthshatter falling down from Nomi. Doesn't get immediate kill off it right away. Zhao out of the fight. Torque able to get on Nomi, but here comes Nicholas. Justice Ring for above. Takes down Grim right away. Has to settle for just one. It is very close right now, Hex, between both teams, but Nicholas, even at 60 HP, still able to stay in the skies and lay down firepower.
I love where Nicholas is actually positioning right now, knowing that he has position of the point, doesn't have to be on the point. He can stay back very safe and just pepper these stairs with rockets, make sure that no one feels comfortable coming in. I believe that Immortals is likely waiting for Hype to get to his Graviton. He's so close, 91%. Verbo's gonna have Soundberry. They might initiate with that before Hype has it, but it is time to fight for Immortals.
Hyped could absolutely just win this for Immortals right here, right now. He just needs 5% more ult, but here comes compLexity. Nano boost is out. Crow going in, looking for a fall through. The Graviton is in here from compLexity, but they don't get much out of it. Immortals still in this fight. Hyped can drop a counter Graviton at any moment. He's gonna get hooked and taken down. A clutch hook coming out from Torque to immediately stop Hype there, and that could have very well won compLexity at this point.
I love that camera angle. It was the vaudeville hook from off screen. He was hiding in the corner. You didn't even see Roadhog. It was just the hook taking Hyped out of it. A clutch hook if ever there was one. And compLexity, it is a small victory, but that's how you build a big victories. Winning a stage, it's something to build upon.
I just imagine Zarya up there in a top hat, just failing at dancing. There's booze coming out, and Zarya goes, wait, my best act is about to come out. And unfortunately, the cane comes out, throws her off stage before the Graviton, and that was very good timing from Torque to stop Hyped from turning that fight around.
Roadhog is a harsh critic. It was interesting that they stuck on that Pharah for as long as they did. I think Nicholas wasn't necessarily getting as much as he wanted out of it, but because it is such a good Pharah map, I feel that it's probably his most practiced hero on this map, just guessing. But on the other side of things, it looks like Grim, despite having a rather decent Roadhog game, is going back on his hero of McCree again.
And this is just going to be better at stopping Nicholas, because if you notice, Nicholas was really giving a lot of space because of the Roadhog. Really wanted to make sure there was room between him and potential hooks, but now dealing with McCree, certainly much harder, and Grim very aggressive, very sneaky. But first fight here is underway between both teams, and Nicholas definitely giving a lot of room to this Immortals team. Doesn't want Grim to get in on him, and this is a poking fair, which usually doesn't work out so well, but we'll see how it goes as Agilities is able to start opening things up here for Immortals.
Yeah, Agilities with a couple really nice pick take down both tanks. One of the problems when you're running this combo, and it always has been, is that you're essentially running a 2v6 and a 4v6, and the other team in full force all of the time, so a little too far away from his team. It's a good map for the combo because you can hold high ground without having to use your boost, which is where we see Grim set up right now, so if they want that high ground back, they're going to have to fight for it.
Now, let me ask you this. Is Nicholas going to stand the Pharah while going for long poking? He had to give up so much room because of Grim Reality on the McCree. It just feels like he's not being as effective as a result.
They don't have anything else to dislodge Grim really at this point. I don't know how much confidence they have in KO to be able to 1v1 a McCree up top on the Winston, and I believe he'll stick on it at least until we get a single Barrage. Barrage is simply too valuable. It can turn fights around for you, so that you raise a good point, but I think if Grim gets better of him once or twice, he's going to switch.
On complexity, they are going in. Nicholas is diving in, but doesn't get quite what he's looking for immediately. Grim Reality able to back out, and this is a clean team fight here from Immortals. Complexity, they dove in decisively, and they died just as decisively.
They need to deal with Grim. I know it becomes simplistic at a certain point, but who is your biggest problem to your composition? It is Grim Reality, and unfortunately for Complexity, there's 5 other guys who are also very good on this Immortals team.
Well, Hype certainly can ruin some parties here on this next fight. He's very close to having a Graviton, and Complexity, time is starting to run away from them here. 62% unanswered thus far on progress, and Nicholas down very early to start this fight, ends up rocketing himself. And by the way, Agilities has been a huge threat in this entire round here thus far as well. Started out with 2 kills, ends up dying there, but the rest of Immortals able to move in, and Tracer just falls off the cliff. It's a little bit quicker to respawn that way.
Yeah, hoping that she'll wake up from the nightmare that she is in right now, unable to really get much going. Was able to get 1 kill, but the time to kill just very slow there. And now 86% Immortals with a bunch of ults. Last good fight coming for Complexity.
Complexity, this is a must-win fight for them, or they will lose this round. Here comes Nicholas, going with the early barrage, does not connect on Grim. Meanwhile, Hyped drops a Graviton. It's one poor Winston stuck in there, and he's got Primal Rage right out, so nothing good happening from there, but look at Agilities on the flank. Whole Hog taking down D.Va, setting up Grim, and this is still going to be Immortals fight and Immortals round.
Nomi with the clutch play right there to kill Shake because Shake had Resurrection available. Several of his teammates dead, perhaps giving them new life would have brought new life to this point, but they will take another stage. Now Immortals 1 stage away from taking the opening set.
And Immortals, this has been interesting because really these have been close rounds for the most part. That last one, perhaps not as much. And maybe there is something to the idea that running early McCree has really been hurting Complexity. But on the whole, Complexity has been playing this relatively close, so even though it's 2-1, I feel like there's a possibility that, especially going back to first round, it could be 2-1 in Complexity's favor, so it still could go any way here, but Immortals definitely feels like they have a bit of an edge if they keep Grim on that McCree.
I tend to agree with you, and while I think that Pharah can be okay against McCree in some circumstances, you play a lot of McCree. What would you not want to be played against you in this situation? AKA, how do they deal with Grim?
Dealing with Grim here, anything that's in your face, especially if you have people coming in from both sides, McCree is very good at dealing with one target, but if you give him multiple threats, including one threat that's really tanky in his face, it's very difficult to deal with. So you have to be coming at him with a dual factor strategy. Just one hero is not going to be enough. 2 heroes, like say Winston and Genji at the same time, that could give him some fits.
And we have not yet seen the coordinated jump from KO and Torque together. Again, KO a relatively new addition to this roster, so some of that coordination being an issue. Torque is on the back line all alone, trying to get some work done on the Tracer, but so far bloodless as Nomi does get a kill but gives his life for it.
5v5 right now between both sides. Torque going to be darting around that Tracer, looking to open things up, and he does. Able to find Agility, still a threat in the back line. Grim Reality in the back of the Immortals himself, but unfortunately his team is dying all around him. He wasn't quite able to land the shots he was looking for, which means he needs to back out, and the first take will go the way of compLexity.
Torque coming alive there with the cleanup on the Tracer. Some nice kills early on for compLexity, and Torque already with that pulse bomb up. So far, they've just stayed far enough away. I think this is actually how Nicholas was playing towards the end of this stage earlier on, far enough away from Grim Reality. Grim Reality, though, going to switch from McCree onto a Roadhog, which is what he played on this stage earlier.
This is what he played on the stage earlier, and it didn't quite shut down Nicholas the way he was looking for, but did offer a lot of control on the point. And speaking of Nicholas, he is still very unpressured here as both teams are getting into it. Now, Immortals are coming in from inside the building and inside the main gate, and with Tracer down already, this is a big opportunity as Agilities drops a Justice, takes down Pharah, and as Agilities picks up 3 kills, this should be Immortals' point.
Agilities with his best life on Pharah so far in this set as he absolutely crushes it. What's a great life on Pharah? You pop your ult and you stay alive. I've never seen it happen before in my own experience, but he is able to live through his ultimate and get a couple more kills.
Did you know the full voice line is Justice reigns from above? People just thought it was Justice because you tend to die after you say that one magical word, but you're right, it was a great life there for Agilities. He was able to go in that point where he wasn't being focused on, and there's nothing more dangerous than a Pharah that is donning a cloak of invisibility, so to speak.
Well, they are going to have a barrage up for them as well as an Earth Shatter. The only thing really working in favor of compLexity is the Graviton. They will bust out the Graviton. A nice angle for it from Chow as they get in. A beautiful nade is going to allow them to clean up for this fight all but over, and compLexity with the fight they needed to get back into this.
compLexity will be retaking, and for Immortals, this is a little bit rough here, Hex. They only have really 2 team fights to give here at this point, which means there's a lot of pressure on them to take this next team fight. You don't want to be in a case where you have to win a fight and then just hold uncontested for the rest of the map. So we'll see what happens here. Verbo should be able to initiate this with the sound barrier, and a lot's going to come down to how Agility sets this up. Now, Hyped has a Graviton about to be underway, so we'll see how this goes. Agility's looking for his right moment. There's the Graviton, and there's the Justice, raining right from above. They only get 2 kills from it, though, but that very well could be enough. Nano Boost was also invested on Agilities. He's diving into the back line. Ana's in his sights, and Ana goes right down.
Agility is really coming alive on his Pharah. It's something that we don't see him play a lot of, but he has made his name in the Overwatch scene very early on before he went over to play Roadhog or some other heroes. He was a great Genji, so his projectile aim and prediction is definitely unquestioned. He's showing it right now on his Pharah right now.
Well, we do have a swap up here where Hyped has gone off the Zarya. He is now on the Winston, and we'll see how long he stays on that. So he had it in the last fight to set things up. Now going to a different character, in part to give a little bit more oomph to Immortals engages and to keep compLexity off guard.
Torque's been a little bit of a nuisance, so I think that might be what is prompting the switch right there. Maybe he's going to stay back with his supports as well, keep them a little healthier. As Sound Barrier comes down, Agility is going to come up over top, try to clean up the rest of this. Grim, though, gets 2.
Grim just diving right in there, and this is a powerful front line coming out from Immortals right now where they're able to just dive right in. Hyped, of course, is going to add to aggressiveness on the Winston, and now it's 75%. compLexity in a do-or-die situation, Hex. They have the ultimates they need to win this next fight, but if they don't convert, their life here on Oasis and in the series will be over.
They'd be best served throwing everything they have at it because there's no reason holding on to it. Chow only 4% away from a grab. They've got Earthshatter. They've got everything. Can they execute? They should win this fight in theory.
Well, here they go. The Graviton gonna open things up. The Justice raining from above. Nicholas with the fall through on the Nomi. 2 unanswered kills here. They are cashing in their ultimate power here, Hex, but it is successful, or is it? Agilities finds 3. How does he stay that unnoticed? And now this is a winnable fight for Immortals. It is in question for compLexity, and that, you just cannot have that happen after an early opening like that. And Grim Reality on Tracer here, now the X Factor. He might be able to have Immortals win this right here, right now. But note that compLexity did retake the point in the chaos.
Show me your ways, Agilities. How do you get 4 off a naked barrage like that? No help, no support, just pops it, gets 3, and then finishes up with another 4. They did take it back, but right now it has been all Immortals as they look to take it back. Overtime, Immortals in control of this point, looking to mop up and take the set.
And Grim Reality able to find Nicholas early on, darting in and around on the Tracer. This is a chaotic fight, and Tracer thrives on the chaos. 2 unanswered kills here from Immortals, and is looking more and more like Immortals will be dispatching compLexity in this opening game. They do just that. The series goes 3-0 in favor of Immortals.
Despite it being 3-0, I'm a little bit impressed with complexity. They fought harder than I thought they were going to, given everything that had happened roster-wise coming into this.
Absolutely. I think that there's different levels of 3-0s.
Yeah.
And if anyone looks at the score page, they're going to go, wow, we probably expected this coming in, which isn't wrong. But what we didn't expect was for complexity to put up the level of fight that they did against what many people consider to be one of the very top North American teams, especially in light of their current troubles.
And we even mentioned that on map number 1 on Eichenwald. They definitely had something that we didn't necessarily expect there on first. And then, of course, pieces of their team are falling apart here at moments. But it makes me hopeful for the future, you know, and I like to be hopeful for the future. So that might just be me, but it definitely brings some things to bear. Well, I want to talk about a few aspects of that game. Well, first of all, we can talk about Oasis in general, but I wanted to talk a little bit about that last point that we played. We played that one twice. I believe that's Library, if I'm remembering correctly. It's not something I've had to know very much. But basically, there's that high ground, and actually, each time complexity went to the high ground, whereas Immortals opted to go to the low ground, and actually the first point pickup was 50-50 either way. So what are your thoughts on that point in general and their different strategies coming into that?
Well, when it comes to high ground, clearly complexity had a lot invested in Farah, who, of course, is very good at controlling high grounds and giving your team that degree of space. So the fact that complexity was focusing on that doesn't really come as a big surprise. And truthfully, when you take a look at how Immortals was adapting throughout the course of it, I think initially they thought, all right, we'll throw agilities in on this Farah v Farah. He wasn't quite able to neutralize Nicholas the way he wanted to. I'd say Nicholas definitely had a few points over agilities on the whole in the Farah v Farah matchup. So it took a little bit for Immortals to really figure out, all right, where are we going to run versus this? Will it be McCree? Will it be Roadhog? And then just do some swaps to finally get something that worked for them.
I mean, that high ground is there, but they weren't really running the compositions that utilize it all that often. They decided to make their own high ground, if you will. We're going to be fair, and we're going to just create our own high ground, essentially. Torque was kind of messing around up there, but that's just because there's a small pack, and it's okay for Tracer to be kind of middling around in the back lines. But I think when they're not running a McCree, when they're not running a 76, that part of the map becomes nearly irrelevant at a large point. And it's also very dangerous to be rolling on that high ground just hanging out because there's a cliff on the backside, and there's some people, especially against a Farah. I mean, we're always worried about a Lucio coming up to us and making us dance off the cliff, but a Farah, she can do it from a mile away and get concussed off of the edge. So I think that's why you didn't see the high ground utilized as much.
Well, and one other difference in between that first fight where complexity was able to take it first, and then I think second, Immortals was able to take it first, is the McCree variable. That is, Grim Reality started off actually playing Roadhog. Describe, if you will, what you saw from Roadhog and McCree, especially on that point.
Well, I think you nailed it early on, is that they was very clearly stage dependent of when there is no skybox and Farah can just jump jet all the way to the top of the world, if you will. Then you have to run McCree because you have to be able to hit those bullets. And on the library stage where there is a roof and the range, it's a much more closed-in map, then the hook does the same thing more reliably. And so I think they just very clearly had a strategy of if we see a Farah on this map, we're going to run Grim on McCree. And then Grim also, of course, with the versatility to run that Roadhog.
Right, and it's not that McCree wouldn't have been bad in those situations either, but Roadhog does give you a little bit more meat on the ground. It lets you be more aggressive in pushing the point. And what we saw in particular from Immortals is that, particularly after the swap to Winston, they were going out of their way to really take the fight to complexity, push them back, and not let them get fights on their own terms. Because what we saw a lot was that Nicholas wasn't always going in deep on Farah. He was sitting there poking for a long while, and then finally, when they thought they had an edge because maybe the rocket brought someone low enough that they felt it would be good to go in, then they would go in. Well, Immortals started to take that away from them towards the end, where they simply forced fights and didn't let complexity take fights on their own terms.
One thing that I did appreciate from Immortals in that vein is, well, the Farah versus Farah battle. And you had actually touched on this. It ends up being like a 4v4 and a 2v2 in a lot of ways. But I think Agilities, especially in that last showing, he stopped focusing on the Farah v Farah battle, and he said, listen, I'm just going to try to get some kills on the other side, because clearly I'm losing the Farah v Farah battle, as Nick was able to find many kills onto him. It looks like you have some thoughts on
Well, I mean, for the most part, it was stacked against him.
Yeah.
You're not going to win a Pharah v. Pharah battle if Pharah has a Mercy, because that's a 2v1. It's just not going to happen. Even if you hit every single rocket just getting healed up. Very clearly, also, it seemed like Nicholas was more comfortable with that air battle. He was hitting mid-air shots that were just bonkers. Those are crazy hard to hit. So, yeah, I think he made the right choice. He knew that we still want to run the Pharah, but that is not my primary target. And then you use that, you communicate with your team, someone else deal with that, and I'm going to be a nuisance on this side of the map or this side. And his play towards that last stage, I have no idea how he did it. That's wizardry right there. To get like 3 kills in a barrage without like a nano or support to set it up, it's crazy.
Well, I think it goes to a bigger point about this Immortal squad, which is that, yes, we do focus on Grim Reality, and if you look at the course of the game, certainly I think Grim Reality had more hero moments, but the reality is that there's plenty of points where maybe Grim goes down or isn't getting it done, and suddenly Agilities is that X factor, and clearly when you take a look at that final barrage he had, that took away what should have been a very easy fight for compLexity. They had the ult advantage going in, they got 2 early pickoffs, and then suddenly you don't look at the Pharah on the left and you lose 3 people. That can't happen, but on the same note, Agilities was playing very well to put himself in the position where he could even have that happen.
Well, and I'm hoping that we can get the other angle of that. We'll see if we have the angle of Agilities, because I do want to see, what happened on the other side of that wall that allowed him to do that. And actually, it looks like we can see it. Let's see what that looked like.
Oh, so he did have a boost. All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Fair enough.
That makes
a little bit more sense, It brings
Right.
some, yeah. I mean, and maybe also it didn't look like there was a lot of reaction.
So
from
as we've been
compLexity.
seeing more Pharah, and I think we will continue to see more Pharah. One of the things that's always been she's always struggled with is survivability, and that's what the boost is great for. I mean, the boost did get nerfed. You don't have the speed anymore, but Pharah doesn't need the speed. Pharah's got mobility. She needs damage and survivability. So I think you will see more nanoed Pharahs going forward. It's one of the better targets now when you are running more of the DPS classes. I think Pharah's a great nano target.
Well, particularly, too, as we will see more teams mix Pharah in. She has had a bit of a resurgence. Now, we look at some of the other teams in the tournament, some we might be seeing later on the night. They really do like running Pharah, so to say the least. And we'll leave the analysis for there, but clearly, I think this is something we're going to be seeing much more of, particularly on this patch and probably into the next.
And it's not like we haven't been seeing very many Zaryas, but with D.Va maybe falling off, Zarya may rise up, and that's another small element of making Pharah successful, especially on certain points, a little bit more map situation.
I think it's good, though, that sometimes you can run a D.Va, but you don't have to run a D.Va. And sometimes it's good against this composition, sometimes it's bad against a composition. I think that's what balance is intended to achieve anyway.
I actually, speaking of D.Va, I was going to bring this up later, but it seems like a good time. Let's talk about Hyped a little bit. What are your first impressions on Hyped living outside of the D.Va world?
Well, you take a look at Hyped, he is a versatile player. I mean, you go back to his original history in Overwatch, he's been all over the place. There's points where he was Widow main, then he's a support, now he's on tank, and now he's mixing things up. I think his Zarya was, I wouldn't say it was bringing the world on fire, but it was very good and solid. It didn't feel like a weak point. And then he still has the ability to swap off to other heroes, like we saw towards the end, where, all right, we need more pressure, I'm going to go Winston. He's a talented guy. I mean, you think back to his history, he was a former Hearthstone pro, man of many talents, and not surprised to see him go a little bit away from the D.Va, despite it being one of his true loves that he used to run for a long time. But I think for Immortals, I wouldn't really see it as a weak point going forward, and he'll get even better at some of the other switch-ups as they become more common.
He's likely just recovering, going through a heartbreak period of, for the longest time, D.Va was so strong and a must-run, and Hype's been great at it. There's no other way to say it. He's been a great D.Va since the beginning of D.Va. I think he will adapt a little bit. I think he actually adapted in front of our eyes throughout that set because early maps he struggled on Zarya and it looked like he was a little uncomfortable. But he's a good Zarya, and he can play Widow, and I think we will see even more Widow as the meta evolves too. So I think he's just trying to let it go. That you don't have to run D.Va every single time. You can't run D.Va every single time, but she still has her moments.
You just gotta let it go there, Hypes. You gotta let it go. This is coming from me, and I know I haven't really had any good advice for anyone, but this is the first piece of advice that we're going to give you. And I would say that the final thought I would have on Immortals is they got the momentum going, they kept it going, and they were able to find victory. Well, we've got one more match tonight, but before that, we are going to take a short break. Go ahead and go refuel yourselves and be back in just a bit for more Overwatch action.
Shatter comes down here from the offense. It's going to be enough. Nomi ends up with 2, and Immortals might have just breaking through here, Hex.
And that's one of the issues with having the new tanks like they did. You don't want to put someone on blast immediately because he played well early, but KO dropped his shield, was looking for a kill, and that's just not having confidence in the team behind you.